What's up, everyone? I am working on some art. I just figured I would talk while I was doing the art. Apparently, that's something my mind really enjoys, is talking while doing, and it keeps me more zen for some reason. So I'll probably be doing that a little bit. And now that I've explained that, I'm gonna actually be doing the art. Okay, so, so, so. I was driving today and just like running errands. And what's cool, what I like about running errands is kind of the same reason. It's like I'm doing one thing and that keeps me more engaged in other things. It's like, I don't know, I go to a different kind of state of mind that I really enjoy. So what happened was, or the thoughts that I had came from a post that I saw, um, which was bouncing off some drama that happened yesterday. It didn't have to be drama. It just somehow turned into drama. I guess Wichita is like that a little bit, the Wichita social media scene. So this one guy just started posting about like all these musicians he hated. It was like, um, just, people that you never really hear being hated on, like Amy Winehouse and stuff. Like, I'm gonna come out and say it, I hate Amy Winehouse, and then all these other people, Blink 182, and like some people got upset over it, as is going to happen because like these are icons, you know. Um, but other people were like got kind of they got kind of mad at him because they're like, oh well, he's a musician as well, and they were like, you only have this many followers and you're hating on these people. Like it got a little bit um petty in my eyes. But drama is drama, and that could be fun, I guess. It's a fun game to play sometimes. But then someone else was like, okay, yesterday so and so was posting on bands they hate. Well, today I want to hear what are your like guilty pleasure songs or bands. And I was like, okay, cool. Like this person's making it into a thing, and like trying to kind of make light of the situation, which I appreciated. Anyways, it got me on this train of thought, which is guilty pleasure first, which took me around in a big circle. What is a guilty pleasure? Like, let's say you like a song by Nickelback or something. A lot of people are gonna say that and then be like, honestly, it's my guilty pleasure is this song or something or this band. Um, Almost like they're ashamed to have enjoyed it. And so I was playing with that thought, like, why be guilty about something that you enjoy? Um, because someone else probably enjoys it without feeling guilty at all. Like, I promise you, every guilty pleasure you have, somebody else is out there enjoying the exact same thing and not feeling guilty at all. I want you to sit with that for a second. Because what I'm saying is your guilt about it is arbitrary. You don't have to feel it. It's not objectively bad. Very few things are objectively bad. Um, and so my conclusion on why you feel guilty is because you have attached the doing or not doing of a certain thing to an identity that you are also attached to. So we could talk about this with like masculinity, like colors that you never see guys wear, or types of clothing that you never see guys wear. Um, you might feel like wearing a certain thing is like off limits for you, if it's too feminine or something, and that's not necessarily a guilty pleasure. Um, that could just be a more like non-binary expression or whatever. But the fact that a guy might have hesitation about wearing a certain thing um, is because he's attached to the concept of like man, And in his concept of man is certain things that men wear. And so by being attached to this identity and then having like aesthetic choices attached to that identity, you're attached to that identity, and anything you do outside of it, you feel like is betraying your identity. So you might feel like guilty, or you might feel wrong, or like you might feel like you're stepping out of line. So you could feel this about certain music, you could feel this about food that you eat, like this food is my guilty pleasure. And that's probably because your identity, you're caught up in an identity of somebody who doesn't eat that kind of thing. I'm a healthy person. Healthy people don't eat this. Therefore, if I eat this, I'm stepping outside of my healthy people identity. That's where the guilt comes from. So if a song is guilty pleasure, it's because you have an identity of a certain kind of music listener. I am this kind of music listener that has this kind of refined taste. So if I listen to something that is not so refined or complicated, it's a guilty pleasure now, because that's not really me. So what I'm going to say is that your attachment to identities is most of the time not helpful. Your attachment to your labels and everything is not helpful. It can be helpful. I'll talk about that in a sec, but first let me talk about how it's not helpful. Let's playfully break down the word identity. This is not like the correct way to break it down, but if it puts a dent in your entity, it's not a good one. If it makes you feel bad about a way that you are or something that you experience, then that's putting a dent in your entity, in the entity of you. And that means you probably have too rigid of an idea of what that identity is. A healthy identity is one that is creative and malleable. You use the definition of creative that says like something not before experienced or imagined, kind of like if you put something on paper that you had never thought of before, that is being creative. If you draw something and you've already drawn it 100 times before and you're just drawing it again, that's not really being creative. That's just like making a copy. That is more just producing. Okay. So being creative with an identity is taking that identity and saying, I am that thing, but here's what that thing can be. It can be more than I previously imagined it to be. Can a healthy person eat fast food? Yeah, just depends on your definition of healthy person. If your definition of healthy person means they never put anything bad in their bodies ever, or like, yeah, or only put things in their bodies with a certain nutritional value, that's a healthy person, then yeah, every time you have like fast food or something, you're going to be betraying that identity, and you will feel guilty about it, even if it's a pleasure, even if you enjoy it. But if your definition of healthy person is like someone who is who like mostly eats well, sticks 80-90% to what is going to be nutritionally valuable to them, and every once in a while eats things outside of that, fully understanding how it's going to affect their body and understanding their own thresholds of what they can eat without feeling bad, without losing copious amounts of energy or something like that, or like not eating things that they're allergic to or something. Like you can have a view of a healthy person that does include eating fast food. Is probably just a certain amount, but you can imagine a healthy person that is able to do that. And then you don't have to feel guilty about it. You can eat the thing and still believe you're a healthy person. And you can just enjoy it. You can just let it give you pleasure. I think that guilt a lot of times is stifling for us. It's not a good feedback system. I don't think that guilt should be non-existent. I think there are places for guilt to exist if it spurs you to change. But a lot of the times the guilt that we feel is unnecessary, and it's kind of a wasted emotion because it kind of can make us feel bad about ourselves, about the value of ourselves, for just enjoying things. I don't think pleasure should by default be connected to guilt. I think that's bad. I think being guilty for pleasure is generally bad. Feeling guilty because your pleasure comes at the expense of someone else's pain, like, that's a totally different thing, okay? But like, most guilty pleasures that you've ever talked about, if they truly are guilty, go back and examine what identity that is attached to what voice in your head is telling you you shouldn't do that thing. And if you think it's not that big of a deal and you shouldn't be that guilty about it, there's no real reason to be guilty about it just besides like an identity that you're attached to, then be willing to let that identity go a little bit. I'm really lately trying to embody an identityless state, which means just being present to exactly the moment. Here's me, here's the moment, what does it need? And just be, and don't act like you think you should, but just act like you do. And the world is good enough at giving you feedback that if you are consistently coming to something wrong, like, or there's like a consistently a better way that you could be showing up to a moment, the world will probably give you that feedback sooner or later. But don't put it on yourself. Like, start with authenticity, start with being you, and start with enjoying what you enjoy. You can build from there. Yeah, so those are the main thoughts I have about that. Don't put a dent in your entity by feeling guilty for no reason. Okay. And it's funny, I said I was going to sit here and do art, but I already kind of knew what I wanted to say, so I just said it, and I wasn't able to focus on art, so I'm going to go get to that now. And we'll talk to you later.